Hey guys, welcome to today's video, and it's going to be about the real cost of running a tax and bookkeeping business. So welcome if you are new to me. My name is Krista. I am an enrolled agent by the Internal Revenue Service, and I also have a program called Tax and Accounting Clients on Demand that teaches you tax professionals, enrolled agents, bookkeepers, CPAs on how to get clients consistently using social media and build a multi-six-figure firm. So in today's video, guys, I want to break down the nitty-gritty numbers on running a tax and bookkeeping business. I'm actually going to take you through my very own profit and loss statement from 2014 so I can show you some of the mistakes that I made with the expenses that I incurred, just how I was running my business so you guys don't go out and make the same mistakes. So let's talk about how much I generated in revenue for tax year 2014. So my total revenue was $56,659, and this primarily came from tax preparation services. Tax preparation services accounted for about 60% of this income, and the other 40% was bookkeeping services. So I had a healthy split of, almost 50-50 when it came to tax and bookkeeping services. But what I really want you to pay attention to was like, okay, this is all fine and dandy, right? To make almost 60K. My first real year in business, this is what I would consider my first real year. But let's look at all of these expenses that I incurred. Now, for my first real year in business, I paid out $12,713 in contract services. So that means I hired a few people and they did one-off projects for me. I remember I had an administrative assistant that I was paying anywhere between minimum wage and probably like $10 an hour. And they were just helping me stay organized with paperwork. They were, setting appointments. They were helping me onboard and offboard clients. And I only had this person, I believe, during tax season. The other of this contract services probably was just maybe outsourcing some cleanups, outsourcing some one-off bookkeeping projects I paid for that I outsourced. So that totaled to $12,713. My next major expense was advertising. So I spent almost $5,000 the tax year 2014, and that was majority on just advertising methods that I told you guys that I've deployed before. So I've done every door direct mail, I've done flyers, I've done radio, billboards, and a lot of that was those traditional, a lot of this $5,000 was that traditional marketing activities that I deployed. Now, ask me how many clients I got on this. Not much, right? A lot of this business came from just my social media marketing actually, and a lot of referrals, right? But not a lot of business generated from cold traffic, cold advertising campaigns, doing those, flyers, and they didn't pop off for me based upon the type of demographic that I was trying to attract. So my next advertising expense was professional fees. So this is kind of goes without saying, you're going to have some sort of professional fees to pay for, such as, business incorporation, maybe obtaining your PTIN, your EFIN, maybe professional fees if you're becoming an enrolled agent. So all of those fees I bucketed under professional fees. I did have auto expense because I was traveling a lot. My, first real year in business, I felt like I had to go to people and pick up their tax returns. I felt like I had to go on site for bookkeeping. So I definitely was traveling a lot that year, just, accommodating my prospects. And guys, please don't do that. If you're thinking about starting a mobile tax and bookkeeping business, please save yourself the heartbreak and pain. You can build a 100% virtual firm and be successful. You don't have to visit people. They don't have to see you face to face. They don't have to be belly to belly with you. Don't think that you have to, that you're kind of differentiating yourself because you're going to drive to somebody and pick up their tax work. That's just working harder and not smarter. And with today's, technology, you don't have to do that. One, and two, you're going to have a capacity on how many people you can actually service during tax season because you're going to be so busy driving all over the place, picking up tax documents. So that's what I did. I call myself, traveling, trying to accommodate people, trying to go above and beyond. And going above and beyond really is just providing your client with the most seamless process to become a client and providing quality services. So that's what you want to focus on when growing your business. Some other things that I invested in was office supplies. So I spent about $3,800 just on office supplies. So this was a lot of that $3,800 was paper. Because I wasn't running a virtual firm, then I ran through a lot of paper. One thing that I was doing wrong that I didn't catch until 2015 was that I was printing 2 copies of the actual tax return. So I was printing thousands of sheets of paper a day, right? So I'm going through ink, I'm going through paper, because I thought that I had to have a physical copy for myself and provide the client their own physical copy. And it was just a lot of paper, a lot of ink that I spent trying to run my business that way. So now that, we're all virtual, you simply just send over the documents electronically. You have your client sign electronically, and you keep 2 files for yourself. So you're going to keep something on the cloud, and then you want to back it up on a second source, just to make sure that you cover your bases, just in case maybe your computer is destroyed, your hard drive is destroyed. You still have a secondary backup copy on the cloud. Okay, but I spent a lot of money printing out a lot of tax returns that year. I print out twice the amount of tax returns that I needed to. Now, the other things that I spent was rent and utilities. So I spent about $4,400 in rent, which wasn't bad. If you add up my rent and utilities, I was paying about $570 a month in rent and utilities. That's not a bad number, actually. Meals and entertainment, $1,620. I would actually meet clients sometimes at like Panera Bread, Starbucks. I would pay for their coffee and their little croissants, and I did a lot of like little gifts, right? Under $25, of course, but just trying to win clients over, trying to schmooze them, right? That's what I did. So that meals and entertainment, $1,620. Repairs and maintenance. Now this definitely was an unnecessary expense, because if you're virtual, you don't have to really worry about repairs and maintenance. Now, yes, if you are working from home, say for instance you're working from home, you're still going to be able to write off your office usage of your home. So you're still going to be able to write off your mortgage or your rent, a portion of your utilities, and a portion of repairs and maintenance. But this extra $1,500 that I spent, I really didn't need to, because I should have been running a virtual office anyway. So I did spend $1,493 for repairs and maintenance, insurance $973, and legal fees $600. Now, what I want to go over is just some key lessons learned here on mistakes that I made and that I don't want you to make going into your first tax season, or even if this is your second, third, or fourth tax season, right? So my total expenses was $38,059, right? So over here, my gross profit was $18,941. But I lived off this money, right? So my gross profit was $18,000. I didn't take in consideration, I wasn't paying myself first when I was running my business. I did not have myself on like a weekly payroll or a monthly draw. I was running my business, and whatever was kind of left over from all of these expenses, that's how much money I would take at the end of the year. And so this is what I lived off of, $18,941 for tax year 2014. Now you can see how I was broke and how, things just wasn't right for me that year, because this only averages what? So let's see here. That only averages about what, $1,500 per month, right? $1,578 per month. So that's $394 per week that I was kind of surviving off of, right? And guys, if you think about the average cost to rent a property, right, even an apartment, you're going to spend at least, if I'm bringing home $1,500, I'm probably spending at least $900 of that in just rents alone. So you can see how this is not enough money, even across in most places of the United States, that this is pretty impoverished, right? It is pretty impoverished. You either have to be married, have a second source of income, or be living with family to be able to survive off of this type of income for the year. So my net profits is profits after paying myself and all of my expenses, was $0. I didn't have any net profits. I didn't have any excess savings. So here's what I want to look at, and here's what I felt I made mistakes on. So the very first lesson that I would say was hiring too soon. Right, so if you look at my contract services, I spent $12,713. that should have went over to me, right? 12,713. That should have been included in my income that I took home for that year, but I outsourced some of that work, and I call myself trying to, have a real business, right? And so here's what I want to say about that. Yes, you do want to know when you need to hire. You want to know, you want to hire at an appropriate time in your business to where it actually makes sense, that it's actually helping you facilitate growth. So what I did here is I didn't necessarily need to hire somebody at this point. Only making $56,000 in a year, you shouldn't be hiring right now, right? You should be doing the majority of this work by yourself, because you can do all of this just simply with time management, right? And this is what you need to get good at. So I'm gonna put that here. If you get really good at your workflow, documenting your workflow processes, knowing the process on onboarding and offboarding a client, knowing the process of how you're actually going to facilitate your workflow during tax season and then after tax season when you're doing bookkeeping clients. If you can time manage, you should be able to work, for the most part, by yourself to 6 figures, right? You should be able to handle the day-to-day tasks, the day-to-day bookkeeping and accounting, upwards to $100,000 in revenue. So my mistake here was just simply outsourcing work before I needed to outsource work. I should have just learned how to better manage my time. I should have learned better processes and systems. I should have had better workflows in place before I decided to outsource this income, okay? Now the second thing that was a problem is right here, advertisement. So I spent almost $5,000 on advertisement. Now, I'm not saying by any means that you should not be advertising your business. But what I am saying is that this was not strategic, right? I didn't understand, if I put $1 in, I should get back $2. I didn't understand that concept. And that's what you want to learn when it comes to advertising, is that if you put $1 into an advertising vehicle, you better know that you're going to get $2 back, right? And that you're going to actually have ROI on this advertisement campaign. What I was doing was just, taking all of these different marketing strategies, throwing them up against the wall, and just hoping and praying that they would work. I would hope and pray that these flyers were bringing clients, or this billboard were bringing clients. And that's not how you want to spend money, right? You don't want to hope and pray that something is going to work. You actually want to run your numbers and understand, what's my cost to actually acquire a client? How much am I willing to pay per lead? And when you know that, you can make better decisions on your advertising campaign. So I would not recommend anybody to invest thousands of dollars in advertising campaigns if you don't know for sure how much money you're going to make back on that advertising campaign. Never go into advertising blindly. A lot of people go into Facebook ads or Google ads, and they just blindly do it. Or they even go into flyers, right? They'll go out and get 5,000 flyers. Well, what's your conversion rate for a flyer? Per 1,000, how many clients can you pretty much guarantee that you're going to get per 1,000 flyers, right? So if 1,000 people receive a flyer, what is your conversion rate, right? How much are you willing to pay to acquire a client? And so you have to be very good at direct response marketing, where you're going to deploy these advertising campaigns. And a lot of people probably never even heard of direct response marketing. I know I hadn't until I really started to pay attention to this number, because I was spending untold. Like, this was just my first kind of real year spending some money doing some damage on advertising, and it was $5,000. Every year I would double, triple, quadruple this amount. So I was spending untold thousands of dollars just blindly putting it on advertising campaigns, and I don't want you guys to make that same mistake. Now, here's what I know now. Even now in my current business, I've been able to surpass 6 figures with spending half of the amount here in advertising that I did when I was only making $56,000, right? So I've done little to no advertising, paid advertising this year, 2019, and we are well over the 6-figure mark. So I want you guys to know that You don't necessarily have to pay money to acquire a client. There are organic methods that you can utilize, and this is something that I teach in my program called Tax and Accounting Clients on Demand, where I teach you how to organically acquire a bookkeeping client that's going to pay you $1,000 a month, acquire a tax client that's going to pay you $1,800 a tax return. You don't have to pay if you know strategically how to provide value, how to attract your ideal client. So if you want to learn more, I'm going to put the link to my program below so you can check that out. So advertisement, yes, so that's another $4,799 that should have been added to my income, right? Now professional fees, you're gonna have that, so that's fine. Auto, so this is another one. This was another unnecessary expense. Again, you shouldn't be driving to go pick up source documents. You shouldn't be driving to go pick up tax documents from your clients. You need to have your virtual onboarding systems already in place to where it's effortless for clients to send and receive documents from you. So this is going to save you an additional few $1,000s a year, right? What else? Office supplies. Now, office supplies, I kind of translate that into online software, right? So I was paying for printing, paper, ink, staplers and things like that. But now I pay for software that helps me work smarter, that actually facilitates a lot of this workflow. So this number really hasn't changed much. I still consider office supplies part of my software that I purchase, and I pay most softwares, they charge a monthly fee for it. So whether you're paying for let me see something off the top of my head that I can think about. So your email campaign marketing, right? I pay MailChimp about $60 a month. I pay Active Campaign $125 a month. So all of that adds up, right? And so I actually probably pay a little bit more just to run in office supplies, my online business, but you're gonna see where I make up with that later on. So here's where I make it up at. The actual rent and utilities, okay? And the repairs and maintenance. So I might spend a little bit more now in office supplies, but I make that up because now I don't have this extra rental expense. I don't have the extra utility expense, and I don't have this extra repairs and maintenance. I only have one location, which is my home, and I take the business office deduction for the portion that I use for business in my home, and I just have this one expense. Right? Whereas before I had a home office and I had a physical office. So now I'm paying for both aspects of my office, my home office as well as my physical location that I had. So this is again going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars. Insurance you definitely need. And then your legal and professional fees. So just over here, guys, you can see, that I should have I should have probably made an additional, $15,000 to $20,000 in income that I should have brought home. And that would have made a world of difference to me and my family, right? Instead of bringing home $18,000, I would have brought home close to 30 grand for that year. And that would have been an amount that I could have comfortably lived on for that year, $30,000. So I want you to see some of the mistakes that I made. One was hiring way too soon. So instead of going out and hiring the first person that you think you need, go ahead and get your time management skills down packed, right? Learn how to block out time on your calendar, learn how to create systems, workflows, and processes that's going to allow you to work smarter and that you can have a capacity that will allow you to reach the six-figure mark before you actually really have your first true hire. Okay, the second lesson that I have here is no ROI on ad spend. So definitely make sure that before you invest in any advertising campaign that you can say with a high degree of assurance that you will make your money back, right? Never go into a marketing campaign or advertising campaign blindly, just spending money, okay? And there are a lot of, advertising sales executives that will sell you billboards. They will sell you newsletters. They'll be like, oh, your name, your business name, it's going to be in front of 1,000 people on this newsletter. And while that prospect sounds enticing, oh, my name, my business in front of thousands of people, you need to know with a high degree, what your conversion rate is. If 1,000 people see your message, how many can you guarantee that will become a client with the high assurance? Not guarantee, but with the high assurance, how many people can you surmise will become a client based upon the views of this advertising campaign and your conversion rate? Okay, so that's the second lesson. The third lesson here, guys, is not paying myself first. So a lot of people, they typically run their business like this, where they come in with revenue, they make income, and then they spend all of this money and then they pay themselves, right? That's the worst way that you want to run your business. So I actually run my business now, and I teach my clients on how to run their business by utilizing the profit first method. So there's a book by Mike Michalowicz. He wrote about the profit first, and pretty much what it means is that you're going to take your revenue, and as soon as you get your revenue in, you're going to have these buckets that you're going to break your money out into, right? And you're going to pay yourself first. So this is your profit. Then you're going to save for taxes. Then you're going to actually save, right? Save money. And then you're going to spend money on your expenses, right? So as revenue was coming in, I should have been paying myself first. Then I should be putting away some taxes based upon how much I'm paying myself. And then I want to put away at least 10% towards savings. 10% of this should have been in savings by the end of the year. And then whatever else that I had left over from profit, taxes, and savings, then you spend on expenses. Now, when you run your business like this, you actually teach yourself to cut the fat. You know, I would have known, or I wouldn't have had enough money to spend in advertisement had I utilized the profit first method. I wouldn't have had enough money to be driving all over the place trying to get tax returns. So what it actually forces you to do, it forces you to be creative with your business, with the money that you do have left over to actually run your business. Because now you just don't have all this money that you can pretty much waste. You have a very limited amount of resources that you need to deploy in order to continue with your business. So it makes you be more creative in how you run your business. So this is definitely the strategy that I would recommend, is to get that book on Amazon, Profit First. Maybe get it on Audible if you like to listen to it, but it's definitely a worthy book to read that's going to just get you together with getting your finances in line. Okay, and then one last thing that I put on here is not saving, right? So one of the biggest mistakes that I think I've made in my life is just not setting aside 10% for savings, right? You want to have a savings. So I literally save 10% of every dollar that I make now. And you want to have that in your savings account, not only paying yourself, right, first, saving, of course, for your taxes, because we can't be tax professionals at the highest degree if we can't pay our own taxes, right? So making sure you setting aside your tax liability, and then but making sure you're saving. So building up an adequate savings will allow you to, one, be more strategic with your business, because now you have the resources to think bigger and better, right? Now you have the resources to get a little creative, to invest back in the business, as long as you have a strategic plan, right? And I say that with emphasis, as long as you have a strategic plan. All right, guys, so this is it. I hope this should really help a lot of you guys. And this is kind of, a lot of people, honestly, don't make money in taxes and bookkeeping. They don't make enough money to thrive. They make just enough money just to live off of. And I want you guys thriving. So here's what you want to consider. One, you need to know industry benchmarking. You need to know what the industry averages are. So for instance, in tax preparation, accounting, the industry net profit margin is about 21%. Okay. So let's just do 20% for the sake of this tutorial. So 20% is the industry average net profits. So that means after you pay everything plus yourself, you should still have 20% in net profit saved. Okay, so if you make $100,000, after all of your expenses and paying yourself, and paying yourself, you should have $20,000 saved in the bank. This is in the bank, right? Based upon the industry average. Now, unfortunately, I've worked with, hundreds of tax professionals now. They aren't nowhere near industry average. Most tax professionals, accountants, CPAs that I know, they're running profit margins like restaurants, right? They're running like 3 to 5% profit margins, which is horrible because you're not even nowhere near industry average. So what you want to do, you want to make sure you want to actually pull up your own bookkeeping this month or for maybe year to date and see where are your net profits after you take into consideration expenses plus paying yourself. What percentage are your net profits? And if you're nowhere near industry average, you need to start trimming the fat. You need to start figuring out what in my expenses are bloated and are unnecessary to actually running a healthy and thriving business. Okay. And this is how I keep myself in check. I actually shoot to be well above industry average. So if the industry average is 20%, I'm always thinking, well, how can I have a 30% profit margin, right? Because if I can run a lean, mean, fat burning machine over here, right? If I can increase my profit margins, I'm going to have an edge above the competition because I know the competition is at industry average or below. Rarely are, maybe the top 5% are above industry average, but you want to be best in business, right? So you want to make sure that you're getting a real good handle on all of your expenses, how you're running your business, making sure that you're trimming the fat, making sure that you're not investing in frivolous marketing activities, and that you actually can measure return on investment with anything that you do. So I recently posted that in the United States, the average small business generates an extra $100,000 in revenue per employee. So if you do hire somebody, when you hire the right people, that actually is a great return on investment. Some Fortune 500 companies actually average $300,000 in revenue per employee, and mega companies like, really great companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, they actually average $1 million in revenue per employee, right? So, let's stick with our 100,000. If you hire somebody right now, whether it's an accountant, another tax professional, that person should be worth to you $100,000. That's about average on the return on investment that you will get by hiring a good employee. Now, let's just say you pay that person. So the ROI of hiring is $100,000. And let's say you pay that person, not the ROI. Well, yeah, the ROI is $100,000, and you pay that person a $50,000 salary. You still have a net profit of $50,000 based on this hire. And what all too many times that I see people do is that they hire for positions that don't net them a ROI, like they're hiring too soon. And they're hiring for positions that actually don't maximize, that don't have greater return on investment. So you want to make sure that when you do hire, when you're ready, that person should be bringing in more revenue than what you're paying them as a salary. Okay, and that is where you want to be at. Okay, all right, guys. So take a screenshot of this. Let me know if it helped you. Let me know what additional questions you might have about this. And if you need help getting clients, if you're like, okay, Krista, how can I get past 6 figures without spending tens of thousands of dollars on ads, then I want to invite you to learn more about my program, Tax and Accounting Clients on Demand. I'll walk you through organic as well as paid strategies, because paid strategies do work when you have a cohesive plan for it. But you guys right now can get to $5,000 to $10,000 per month organically without spending hardly any money on ad spend. So I want to show you how to do that. I want us to work together. I want to actually show you how you can actually be profitable in this business, actually afford to pay yourself. Because all too many times, a lot of people get into this business, or any business, for that matter, and they can't afford to pay themselves. They haven't taken a paycheck. And if you are a bookkeeper or an accountant, you've heard that story too many times with your clients. Like they can't pay themselves. So I want to show you guys how to run a long-term long-term sustainable business that you can be proud of, that can actually, you know, really bring back time freedom for you, and something that you can actually live off of, like live comfortably, right? Bringing in 5 to 10,000 plus per month. So I'm gonna put the links below. Go ahead, check them out. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.